Our next panelist is Charles Gassenheimer. Charles is the chairman and CEO of EnerDel, and he's got a little PowerPoint he's going to do here and tell us about what his company does, which is lithium-ion batteries, which are powering some of the early prototypes here of the Think vehicle, as well as others that they're working on.
Thanks, Bill. So good morning. It's nice to be back at Penn. I graduated here in 1995, and I distinctly remember sitting in those seats trying to stay awake during accounting and finance 101 and 102. I'm hoping that today we won't have to do the same. I'm quite sure of it. What we are talking about here is the industrial revolution of the automobile. And you are seeing for the first time in 110 years a completely different new world that you're going to be living in, you're going to be driving in, and you're going to be profiting from as you embark on your careers. That's actually Vicky's car, the Think City, that EnerDel, our lithium-ion battery subsidiary, is designed into. EnerDel was formed in September of 2004 when EnerDel purchased the lithium battery business of Delphi Automotive Systems, and we're based in Indianapolis, Indiana, and our public company headquarters are in New York. I would rather not spend too much time talking about EnerDel today, and more so, I think, talk a little bit more generally about the industry as a whole, because I think that's what the topic of this panel is. But to talk about the industry as a whole, it is hard to do so without having at least some introductory knowledge. And so what I'll try to cover in about 5 minutes or less is some of the introductory knowledge that you need to have. I'm just going to do this. One of the things I think that is most important as we talk about the industry is, why is this happening? Why is this happening? And importantly, why is it happening now? And I think one of the things that is important for you all to know is that while the price of oil is an important component of this, it is not the only reason. And I think that when we look at the government involvement and we look at the success of Toyota and the Prius, which has become fairly synonymous with the hybrid electric drive, you understand that that car today uses nickel metal hydride technology. But for tomorrow and the future, it's going to be all about lithium-ion, and that's no different from your laptops, your cell phones. In the 1990s, right, basically 91, that Sony laptop right there, Sony was the first person to introduce lithium-ion, and that's what enabled you to go from a briefcase or a suitcase. Believe me, when I was going to school here even, the thought of having a laptop on a table, and I only graduated in 95, was out to lunch, cuckoo. So, think about how much has changed in the last 13 years, right? And now they can fit in your ear, on your hip, or wherever else you want to put them. The point being that what enabled this and what enabled penetration rates to increase dramatically was the decrease in cost, which is crucial, and the decrease in size and weight. And obviously, most importantly, the increase in power. I put this slide up here principally because I want you to understand that we are dependent as an industry on the automotive companies adopting this new technology. But we are not dependent to a degree solely on them making the right decisions. And what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is that in Europe, there have been carbon caps in place for a number of years. Today, the carbon cap stands at 120 grams per kilometer CO2 emission, meaning that an automobile, by I believe it's 2015, needs to meet that carbon cap emission standard. I think it's 2012 actually, but you'll have to double check that number. 120 grams per kilometer CO2 emissions. Diesel can't get you there alone. Diesel's 130, 140. So the only way to get there is diesel hybridization. Today we don't have carbon caps in the United States, but under an Obama administration we will. Okay, we will. The other thing you've seen is that at the end of 2007, the United States Congress passed and the United States President signed into law the increase in our CAFE standards, our corporate average fuel economy standards, up to 35 miles per gallon by 2020. Once again, the only way to get there Okay, the only way to get there in the United States on a corporate average fuel economy standard, that means over the average fleet, okay, over the average fleet you have to be above or at 35 miles per gallon. So if you're General Motors and you're selling predominantly Hummers, okay, the only way to get there is to produce a heck of a lot of smaller vehicles or stop selling Hummers. Hence the reason why GM has put Hummer on the block. Okay, so what you are seeing, okay, is the United States government and governments around the world starting to legislate and mandate how we think about and how we drive automobiles going forward. And I think it goes without saying that the critical component to this is the battery. Electric drive is, as it sounds, is all about the battery. And the importance of safety is crucial. And so many of you may think, well, look, we've got this laptop. We can produce these 18650 cells, which are 3 of them take to power one of those Sony laptops. And we produce those in scale and volume. Okay, that market is a $7 billion market today. Sanyo, Sony, Panasonic, these are some of the big players in that market. And $7 billion took 20 years to build that market from a manufacturing-based standpoint. Okay. If the folks here today on the panel with me, my colleagues, are going to tell you about a story that I believe in very strongly, if we're even half right, okay, this entire marketplace for the battery could be $20 to $30 billion. Okay, $20 to $30 billion within the next 5 years. By 2012 to 2015 time frame, this could be by 2015 a $40 billion market. I'm going to justify some of those numbers in a minute. But the only way to get there was to make a tremendous amount of improvement in the battery. So let me break down for you some basic building blocks on the market and some basic building blocks on the battery, and then I want to stop and I want to make sure that we address questions. Let's just make sure terminology-wise we're all talking about the same terminology. Hybrid electric powertrain. Hybrid electric powertrain is a gasoline or diesel or biodiesel or some form of internal combustion engine with a battery that assists performance of the vehicle. So when you're talking about the Prius, you've got a gasoline internal combustion engine with a nickel-metal hydride battery pack. In 2010, Toyota is launching a Prius that's called a plug-in Prius, where you'll be able to plug that battery in and it'll be lithium-based, not nickel-metal hydride-based. 2010 is the year where you're going to see predominantly lithium really launch into the market. And the early player to the market using lithium before 2010 is Thing. And that's over here in the pure electric category. Okay, so examples, the Prius is the category killer for sure. There's over 1 million Priuses on the road today and growing very, very rapidly. In Europe, there'll be the Mercedes S400 Blue Tech on the road next year. This is a diesel hybrid using lithium technology, and obviously the Ford Escape here in the United States. Okay, what is this category called a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle? So a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle and an electric vehicle, from a battery perspective, these are kissing cousins. Okay, this is a high energy density battery versus a high power battery over here. So if you draw a line in the sand, from a battery requirement, these two categories are very, very similar. Okay, it's not so dissimilar from what you have in your cell phones and laptops. You just need a heck of a lot more energy density than what you have today. And so this is a picture of the Chevy Volt, which many of you, I'm sure, have read about, seen pictures, or maybe even seen it in person. This is a battery electric vehicle with a range extender. That range extender, in this case, is a 4-cylinder internal combustion engine that does not touch the powertrain of the vehicle, but recharges the battery on the fly. So here with the Volt, you'll be able to have a 40, 50-mile range and then recharge that battery on the fly multiple times so that you can go long distances. And range is the critical element, as Vicki has already suggested. And then finally, you have the pure battery electric vehicle market. And once again, there's the Think, there's Tesla, which you may have heard about, there's Mitsubishi, and others. But those are the 3 early players to the market. And the Think City will be on the roads here in 09 with lithium. So we're pretty excited about that. As I said, I want to make sure that I cover very, very briefly the battery. I think that when you look at, this is Toyota Prius, we have removed our nickel metal hydride battery pack from Toyota, and we plugged in our own lithium-ion battery pack, and this is, again, an HEV. It's a hybrid electric vehicle. Okay, so you still have the internal combustion engine in there. And clearly, similar to cell phones and laptops, half the size, half the weight, 2 to 3 times power and energy density, and most importantly, cost. When we're talking about a consumer product, cost is critical. adopted is critical. We have to be able to drive down the cost so that the return on investment for the consumer is instantaneously positive. And we understand that 100%. Just to give you an example, we sent this car off to testing at Argonne National Labs, which is the National Research Lab in Chicago, and this car got 77.5 miles per gallon. Okay, that compares favorably to about 48 miles per gallon with nickel metal hydride, and that's without optimizing the software for lithium. So the software still believed it was nickel metal hydride. So clearly, I think the low-hanging fruit in terms of electric drive is hybrid. But I, as I'm sure my fellow panelists will concur, I believe the future is in pure electric drive. I want to stop there. I know we've got a lot of great questions, so